Welcome to Adventures at the Bangkok Film Festival. Today we're seeing Kiss of the Con Queen, an English crime thriller based on a true story about a struggling actor who thinks he's landed a major role, only to find himself shipped off to Jakarta and ensnared in an elaborate scam organized by the elusive Con Queen of Hollywood. Let's check it out.
Adventures at the Bangkok Film Festival. Adventures at the Bangkok Film Festival. Watching some films and then asking some cues. Meeting the crew and then writing this tune. It's Adventures at the Bangkok Film Festival 2025.
I saw a movie. Alright, I just got back from Kiss of the Con Queen, and oh my gosh, I have so much to say. First of all, the thing I didn't know going into this film, and I'm glad someone told me right before I saw it, honestly, because it added so much layer to the film, but the thing I didn't know going in was that this film was written by and stars the man who the story is based on. It stars an actor who got conned by the Con Queen, who then wrote a movie and went on to star in it. It's honestly unbelievable. So Eoin O'Brien, this Irish actor, lived in Bangkok, thought he was getting a big role, thought he was getting called by big Hollywood producers, ends up getting conned by this woman. It turns the whole thing around into a film eventually and makes this film about it, which not only is a part of her getting caught, but then talks about her getting caught in the film. I thought it was such a fascinating film in that capacity. I've truly never seen a film based on a true story where the writer and actor of the film are who the story happened to. I thought it was phenomenal in that capacity. A bizarre crime thriller. Obviously, a lot of times, fact is stranger than fiction, and in this case, I felt it to be very true. The story revolves around a man who is chasing after his hopes and dreams, hoping to become a star, and ends up falling into a trap that, as we learn at the end of the film, almost 1,000 people fell into, which just goes to show how good this woman was at conning, right? She convinced 1,000 people to end up giving her money, to think they were getting film roles. She was running multiple fake lives at once, like 5 to 10 different fake lives. There's multiple documentaries you can check out about this, which I'll link in the description below. And just truly an unparalleled story of a woman who honestly, as the director said in the Q&A, would have been a great filmmaker and producer had she put herself towards, more noble goals than trying to con young actors and producers out of their money. It was such an interesting film because you know it's based on reality and you can feel that it's one of those films based on reality, but you get so lost in it at certain points, especially with the actor, because you could just tell that there's certain times where he's filming these fictionalized versions of events that really happened to him or people he knew, and you can just feel through the screen his presence and his power, because he's actually recalling what happened to him. It's something no actor could ever achieve other than the one who the story happened to, in certain moments where you can just feel his frustration, or you can feel his confusion, or you can feel his realization moments, because he's calling back on what actually happened to him. And I found it fascinating that at the end of the film, they showed a bunch of the clips that he himself shot and sent in to the Con Queen from back in the day. And it was really cool to compare and contrast the real shots that he sent her to the fake shots. Oh gosh. Okay, the spoilers ahead in general, as if there haven't been any already. But this film is so fascinating because it leads the audience, or the audience is ahead of the actors, I should say, right? The character in the film doesn't realize he's being conned, but we know he's being conned. I mean, it's the name of the movie, for God's sake. But it's also, the story we're involving ourselves in. And we know he's being conned long before he does. And what I found fascinating about that was it will allow the movie to have certain moments of levity and comedy to it, because not only because of the brilliant casting of the Con Queen, but also because the audience is ahead of the actor. So there's a little bit of lightness to when he's getting into sticky situations. We already know, I know that he's being tricked. And I felt like that was navigated really well. I also really appreciated how this movie, similar to other movies I've seen this weekend, i.e. Crushed, also produced by Tom Waller, it didn't end when the crime ended, per se. It's one of those movies where the first two acts are sort of the setup to the crime, and then the crime with resolution, and then the third act is a new experience, is post-crime, or sort of, in this case, it's still a little bit mixed up in it, but our main character is out of the crime. They're just hunting down the con queen still, right? But I really like that dynamic. I feel like far too many crime films are, set up, crime happens, and then a very quick wrap-up of they go to jail or they get away or whatever, and so to see not only one but two films this week that sort of extend the story almost. They take where a story would end and they add an entire extra act onto it. I felt like that's not always necessary, but it's very fascinating in films like these, in true crime dramas and true crime or just crime thrillers in general. It's very effective, to me at least, because I enjoy seeing the aftermath, and I think we all want to see the characters get their comeuppance or see how people react to the various crimes. And I feel like this film did a good job of giving us more than what was expected. Speaking of more than what was expected, not only are there multiple characters getting conned in this film, which we get to see across the film, although it focuses mainly on our main hero, Ryan Owens, played by Eoin O'Brien. It certainly shows us other characters who are getting conned as well. And by the end of the film, we see real footage of real people who have been conned. And we found out in the Q&A that some of the actors in the film, many of the people who worked on the film, were people who were conned by the con queen. And to hear their testimony at the end and to see this movie as sort of the ultimate case of vengeance, right? It's the ultimate vengeance film. It was really cool to see that people who got to be involved, and therefore did get their big Hollywood moment, did get their big movie moment. That being said, this movie is the ultimate vengeance film because it happened to the real man who's in the film. And the film becomes a meta commentary about making a film about the situations and how O'Brien came out on top in a lot of ways. Although he went through some hardships and the people around him went through crazy struggles, he ended up coming out on top. He ended up getting the last laugh, right? He's making the film. And much like past films about serial killers and criminals, there's a shot near the end of this film where our actor playing the con queen, Ravi Patel, fantastic comedian and actor, is staring directly at the camera. And we can only hope, one who makes a film like this or sees a film like this and enjoys it, obviously the hope is that the con queen herself will one day watch the film and see herself have to confront her own face staring down at her. And I thought that was a good choice. I thought Ravi Patel was phenomenal. The con queen was so funny. There was such a dark, twisted element to this film, and it made you uncomfortable in places, but it also had a lot of levity, and it had some action, and it had some lightheartedness, and I feel like that really pulled it together. Some of these crime dramas, there's not enough action, and this film had motorcycle chases and fist fights and lots of cool action beat moments, as well as having comedy. And I feel like hiring a comedian or an actor who has been known for a lot of comedic work in the past was actually a good move in this case, because it gave the con queen sort of a comedic edge when we finally do get revealed to who she is. And there's a few moments where he's playing all of the different roles that the con queen assumes, and it's a delight to see Patel sort of embody all these different Hollywood elites that he's pretending to be in the moment. I found that really delightful. I will say, if I had one downside to this film, I would say I feel like it might have got a little over movie-ified in some of the beginning choices. His father is sick, and his father is threatened by the Irish mob. That's a good addition, I feel like, because we already know the character is missing a mother. His mother died some time ago, so keeping his father in it, I understand. But he also has a love interest at the beginning who sort of comes around later, who's missing him, and I don't know. In some ways, I felt like it may have got a little overbloated with a love interest and a dying father and two different criminal organizations between the Con Queen and the Irish mob. And I feel like it might have got a little over movieified in that way. To me, the most fascinating parts of this film were the true elements, and I liked seeing the other characters show up who were also being conned or who he had realized he accidentally sent to be conned. I feel like that element is really where it shined, and the confusion that he has, and seeing the day-to-day moments of him getting tricked and you slowly knowing he's a frog in boiling water and waiting for the moment when he can finally realize. I feel like that is what really pushed the film for me, and I feel like it was excellently done. The two men who play the Indonesian scammers, the guy who takes the money from him for permits, there's one guy who keeps saying that he needs to pay for film permits every day and keeps taking the money from him to go to the Con Queen, presumably. And there's another man who plays his driver, Tony. The film is dedicated to this man. I apologize, I'm forgetting his name. I'll put it right here. Phenomenal actor. Even for such a small role as the driver, I feel like I felt the dynamic between the main character and the driver so much. And when the driver started to see that the con was slipping and that they might have to, deal with this guy or even potentially kill him, all of his little reactions and all of his ways of throwing Ryan off the trail, I just felt like they were so excellent and so well executed. I really enjoyed that character, and it's such a shame that he didn't get to see the film before he passed. Phenomenal work. Yeah, overall, I feel like it was such a fascinating movie. I feel like it's one of those movies that everyone would talk about for a moment once it gets to Netflix. It feels like a really cultural moment once it hits streaming. I know that the documentaries and the podcasts that have been made about the true story have already sort of had a big moment, but I feel like this film really could be a talking point, at least amongst certain circles, true crime circles, when it finally does find its distributor and gets out there, because it really is such a strange story, and it's one of those films that will stick with you for a long time, especially knowing it's true. It's one of those true crime stories that you don't really know exactly where it's going, even though you know it's all about a con, and it's just a delight to go along with. I'm so glad O'Brien chose to write this and share this with the world, and I'm so glad so many people who were conned by the Con Queen, were involved in the film, because I feel like this is such a special piece of media that's so rare. It's such a rare breed in media to have a film about someone who's in the film, and not in a nonsensical way, in a serious, intentional retelling of the scenario. And so I'm so grateful that I'm sure it must have been hard and even potentially shameful to share all these things about yourself, but I'm very glad that O'Brien found the courage and the righteousness to share this with everyone, because it's such a delight and such a bizarre ride. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you're a fan of true crime. It's really a delight of a story, and it's like I said, there's a lot going on in it in terms of it's not just following true crime. Honestly, things like that can bore me sometimes, and this was not that. It has action, it has comedy, it has intrigue, it has uncomfortable horror almost, and it was fascinating, a delight, honestly. So yeah, if you're looking for a bizarre true crime story based on real life, and one that doesn't necessarily take pot shots at the film industry, but certainly is like drenched in the sort of self-tapes and producer world and producer language. There's a lot of talk of higher-ups like Deborah Snyder and Amy Pascal and all these people who the Con Queen was really pretending to be, and was really tricking people into thinking they were in Marvel movies and Star Wars movies, thinking they're going to get the next big casting, and it's just fascinating as a young artist and filmmaker, to see how these things can get out of control, especially as someone who's come from the Hollywood scene in music and film. People in Hollywood know how many snakes are in the film industry, and so to see someone be such a successful snake from outside of Hollywood is a treat and very humorous to me. I also just want to say thank you so much to Tom Waller and Eoin O'Brien for talking to me after the showing and after the Q&A. It was just, they were very nice and hospitable and gave me a lot of good insight into the film, which I hope you will also stick around for the Q&A to learn more about. Yeah, well, Kiss of the Con Queen. What?
So I think we should begin with Tom, just to tell us briefly about the movie and how did it come about.
Well, it came about because of Eoin really picking up that phone and talking to Debbie Snyder. And I came across the project after he'd already written the script. So he'd actually worked on it for some time before I saw it, maybe fifth draft of the script. And it really grabbed me as a real cautionary tale for our industry, because there are so many scams that take place. And this was I felt that he had really very bravely waived his anonymity to tell this story and also place a version of himself in the film. But maybe it's better if you explain kind of how you wrote the script and how it got to me.
Okay, well, after I escaped from Jakarta in the middle of the night, I came home heartbroken and realized I had put one of my friends into the scam also, as you saw in the film. And so I was crushed for a couple of days, and all sorts of thoughts went through my head, like, should I quit? Is it worth it? How much of an idiot am I? All these sort of negative emotions. And then I snapped out of it and realized that would make a great film. So I'd written a few scripts already, I'd made a few short films, and I started putting it all onto final draft, and I'd had maybe a complete first draft in less than a month, so it all just kind of poured out. And then that was 2019 when it first happened to me. Then I saw in 2020 he got arrested, and I knew it was my time to really start developing the script, and so started doing table reads, starting extending the script out for coverage, revising the script, and Tom had heard about the story because a lot of his other colleagues had been contacted and scammed, as well as Tom himself contacted perhaps, and Tom read the script, and then
At that point, he sort of said, okay, no, that's great, you love the script, but I'm just going to shop it around to everyone else first, see if I can get a better deal. So he spent some months taking it, and actually he got it to a very big company here in Thailand that actually was interested in making the film and taking it to Netflix and trying to get like a bigger player on board. And at that point, I was like, well, I didn't hear from you for a while, and I said, well, look, he'll take his time, because I knew that it was very important to Eoin that he play the role of Ryan Owens. I mean, you've written it basically for yourself. So I thought that was very special to him, and I kind of felt that if my deal was like, if Eoin came back to me, I would agree to do the film with him if I got to direct and you got to be Ryan Owens, which is basically what happened in the end. And we got the film made very quickly then. It kind of came together very quickly. But you might want to talk about how this other producer was also touched by the concrete.
Yeah, I mean, I'd had interest from a production company in Dublin in Ireland, and we approached a big player here in Thailand, and they read the script and they liked it. And I'm speaking to the studio head, and he calls me and he says, Eoin, I actually met this guy. I said, what? And he said, yeah, in 2016, I was going to Jakarta, meeting this guy for my dream project, my passion project, and he was giving me notes on the project, were actually good notes. So he had met him in person twice. He had taken trips to Jakarta. So it wasn't just me. There was 999 other gullible males and females that had got caught into this trap. And at that point, it wasn't out. The story broke maybe 2018 or 2019 in several newspapers like Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter. But for all the victims prior to that, they had no way of confirming what really was going on, what sort of a scam they were in. There was no sort of basis of reference for them to get out of it. But yeah, he even ahead of his studio was being conned by this guy, taking script notes, and he crushed his project because now the guy's partners didn't want to work on that anymore. They've been soured to the project. So it really affected a lot of people far and wide, from studio heads to actors to photographers, security contractors, stuntmen.
Yeah, you see those guys in the film, in the short clips. Of some of those are the real victims. In fact, we had other real victims in the film as well. So Miles, who you see playing the director character, Chris, he's also was scammed by the Con Queen, and I think a lot of that sexual predatory stuff went on with Miles and other people. And also Mike Swick, who plays the friend Jay. This is very much a truth moment for him, especially beating up the driver in that scene you see him. So, I mean, really, what amazed me was that all of this really happened. Like that closet scene in I guess you were teaching at a university at the time, but that really happened in a broom closet, and the janitor really came in. And so we were, I guess it was when we were reliving that moment on the set, that must have been, for Eoin anyway, a kind of, definitely a bring back the PTSD on the mop.
Well, I think maybe the crew got more PTSD than me, because the crew hadn't read the script. And then all of a sudden there's a strange Farang with a cocksock on, making love to a mop, but they're kind of wondering, what film are we making here?
Well, that's because we hadn't read the instructions on how to use the cocksock. So it wasn't positioned. There was a slightly problem with B camera, got a whole view of it, because we hadn't read the instructions on how to tie it up.
Once you apply the sock, you're also supposed to tape it down. We weren't able to use all the shots. Unfortunately, we had a nice Austin Powers frontal shot going where I was being blocked by a mop bucket or something like that, but couldn't use any of those shots.
There's no budget for CG.
So, and why Tom? Why you decided to give the script to him? Or
Well, being here in the industry since maybe 2011, 2012, I started crawling my way up from doing action work in the beginning to sort of bit parts and stunt work even, and I worked with Tom maybe in 2014 on Mechanic Resurrection, and then on another teaser that he shot, and then I was lucky enough to be cast in The Cave, which he made. So Tom specialized in these sort of meta, true story films, and he would get first to market as well, like he did with The Cave. He was out before the bigger productions, so he was kind of perfect person to approach, and once he read the script, he really got the script. So you really want to work with somebody who gets the vision for the film. And you know, at one point I was really thinking, go big as possible. Like, it could have been a Baby Reindeer. Go with Netflix. It could have been that big, but I was on the verge. I didn't know what to do. And then Tom says, look, this is your part to play. You'd lose it if it goes bigger. You make it with me. We make this film together. I'm the director, you're the actor. And that was my decision. And I got some good advice from some people in this room as well about that. And definitely don't
wait for Ron Howard.
Don't wait for Ron Howard. I'm happy with my decision and the film we've made. So.
And I was gullible enough to take him on. And of course, you know, we've made this together, and you know, making films is a real collaboration. So Eoin was involved in every stage, including the editing process. It was great to have a collaborator like Eoin who was open to, you know, my vision, and some things I changed with the script. Like the opening scene was very much, I think, something I came in and said very strongly, I think I need to see you taking these kind of non-existent roles, that one-line part in that first scene, which brilliantly, the director brilliantly played by David Cluck, who's in this room. Yeah. Take a stand, David, who is the brilliant talking director. And I'm sure there are other members of the cast in the room, but you know, the fact is, when I got the script, there was still a lot of work done on this, you know, on polishing it, and I think we ended up filming draft 10.4 or something in the end.
10.8 actually. I think I passed you draft 5, and then we got 5, 6, 7 rounds of coverage, applied the notes, kept improving the script. The stronger the script was, the more of a stronger product we would have, and the less we'd have to mess around in the edit. And yeah, I think we shot draft 10.8, so it was probably about 20-25 revisions done on the script. A lot of work went into it.
It's interesting to see your own video, right? The actual footage at the end, and you can see how you use it in the actual.
That's the best bit. Seeing I mean, those clips were gold, and I said we have to have these at the end, just in case people didn't realize this is a real story. You really get it when you see those clips. and I wish we could have more of them because you can see how eager and a little bit younger at that time, and it just shows how successful the Con Queen and how persuasive he was in getting these actors to go all the way to Jakarta, drive 7 hours in a car, and then time to turn around and go back to the hotel. It was just, I couldn't believe it that was the ordeal you went through, and it was very important for me to keep that. And I know the audience is saying, okay, we get it now, this guy is being duped, but so the audience kind of knows, they're ahead of the character in this film. So, but I felt it was important to really show the scam tour in all of its mundaneness, and that's why you see him for 3 days going around Jakarta before it clicks that this guy isn't, for real.
Yeah, so obviously I had to make a film narrative out of a three-act structure and everything, so there's a strong sort of mix between fact and fiction in the film, but everything you kind of see from when the call comes in about minute 8, 9, 10 with Deborah and Richard, and then being sent to Jakarta, all that is kind of exactly what happened to me. Now, I didn't get sort of as raped as Ryan did, but many people did. That happened to a lot of people. There was up to 1,000 victims, and there was a strong sort of reportage of this sexual side of things. And in fact, when I found out, luckily my wife, I came back from Jakarta, from Sumatra, and I was thinking, oh God, this is not right. They canceled the meeting again. This can't be real. This I'm pretty sure this is a scam. So she was actually the one who Googled actor scam Indonesia, sent it to me, and then I knew I was in a scam because it was all there in the article, making weird voices, asking for kisses, scenes getting sexual. So at that point I just knew what sort of trouble I was in, and I had to get out of it.
So I think if anyone in the audience would like to ask any questions, we have the start.
Do you know, has the Con Queen seen the movie?
Probably not, because we don't have a general release yet, but there will be a point, I'm sure, where he sits down and takes it all in, and it's probably none too impressed with his depiction in the film, but it's accurate, so he will at some point. I would like to be a fly on the wall for that.
I mean, we never actually mentioned his real name in the film, so you don't actually, you can construe that this is the character that they've now caught, but it's not.
But there's a very popular 10-part podcast called Chameleon. There's a 3-part Apple Plus docu-series. They all have recordings of this guy, video and audio. There's no way it's not him. There's no sort of, maybe it's somebody else. It's 100% him. So he's dead to rights. And his extradition is imminent. We're waiting for him to get shipped over to California to face his fate and his karma. And the sooner that happens for us, the better.
That's all of that, his real voices. No, he didn't use any machines or anything to change.
We don't think so.
No, that was his voice. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in the documentary. You see the real character, and I mean, just like Ravi's done a brilliant job playing the Con Queen, because he had to go do those voices as well, and the guy was was kind of a good actor. He was a great actor and a great producer as well. He was really good at kind of putting, he would, if he had just applied his talents to really kind of making movies legitimately, I think he'd be a great producer.
Any more?
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Excuse me for my English. So I think one example, the real life is so much more crazy than fiction. And I want to ask also if you use it as a therapy, if it's helped you for yourself.
Got this question on Friday. I think for me the therapy was the writing. I was brokenhearted for about a day or two and was down on myself for a little bit, but then once I started putting it all into the script, I started feeling a lot better about myself. Once we started shooting the film, I started feeling a hell of a lot better about myself. And it was funny because we were shooting the film, we were on the ferry 2 years ago shooting it, a year ago shooting it in Indonesia in February, and it was 4 years to the day when I was actually on that ferry in the scam. So it was very sort of this ominous feeling of that this was kind of meant to unfold positively for me, and I turned it around, and that was enough for me. He's in a jail cell, and I'm at festivals with our movie that we're very proud of. So
You are a winner.
thank you.
Owen really got to play the lead role that the Con Queen falsely promised him. So I mean, that was the whole thing, was that here he is having down on his luck actor being conned by this this very salacious scammer, and yet here he is on the big screen. And I think that's really it's our success story, is that we managed to make it, but we still need distribution. So we're looking for someone to put it out. It's really hard in the current market to try and get a deal, and to try and get it in front of, even just to get a streamer to look at the film is really hard. Like, we haven't managed to place it anywhere yet. So that's really the frustration, is you make a film. I think the film has come out pretty good, considering it's, we didn't have a lot of budget, but we managed to make a film across 5 different countries, shot in 5 different countries. And that was testament to the various people. We got different people to finance the film from those 5 countries, and so now the hard part is trying to get it out there, trying to get it in front of an audience. So thank you all for coming today, by the way, because it's a great turnout for this film.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate you coming out, and if you enjoyed the film, please spread the word. But just on the finance, I'd like to give Tom some credit, because it's so hard to get a film made these days. You can get stuck in production hell. The film can be 5 years before it starts to be made, or it can, most of the time, never came out. But I signed the shopping agreement with Tom in April of 2022, and he had us on set by November of the same year, with the film funded and us starting to shoot the Bangkok block, which was about 23 days. So my hat's off to Tom. I definitely made the right choice as far as partner with this, and I couldn't be happier with the result.
Hi. First of all, fantastic film. Incredible that you got to act in the film of the true story. I feel like that's such a almost impossibility when it comes to things like this. So if you could talk on just sort of that experience in general, and like, were there any surreal moments where, like you said, on the boat, where you were like, oh my gosh, this is exactly it? And then secondly, can you talk more on like what was true and what was added for the film version? Particularly, like, I want to know, was it actually supposed to be Deb Snyder? Like, was that who he said he was?
The narrative of my scam is exactly what happened to me, as far as all of those details. As far as ominous moments, being on the boat 4 years to the day, passing the script to a studio head who had also been scammed by the guy. Our stunt coordinator went over to do an audition for this guy for fake Mulan. He must not have liked the look of him, because he didn't get any, of the sexy stuff. Several cast members. He really, he was going through Bangkok, and I think because of its proximity to Jakarta, it made it easier for the marks, us, to, take a leap of faith and go over there. So he would pay for the hotels, and he'd pay for the driver. But last minute he'd ask you, can you just pick up the flight? And then last minute you're already over there. Can you just, we're gonna need you to cover this shooting permit. And you saw the prices of mine, about 1,000, 1,200, 1,300. Earlier on in the scam, he'd kind of cater each scam to exactly who he was scamming. So other people, Mike in particular, we had seen a picture of his shooting permits, 5, 6, 7 of them spread out on a table, $5,000 each. So he was absolutely furious. He wanted to kill the guy, and he'd called in other security contractors. They tracked him down in Jakarta. They had him, and he talked his way out of it. So this guy was just a master manipulator. He was saying, "Oh no, it's not me. It's some lady in Hong Kong. She scammed me too." So there was just so many moments that just felt, prophetic or ominous about this whole situation. Almost that it was meant to be in a way. And everything you see in the narrative happened to me or somebody else. And so I was able to listen to the podcast while I was developing the script and hear all the other stories about the Con Queen, including how he was trapped down. I can't take credit for finding the photograph. Mike Swick actually hired an investigator who tracked down the fake passport that he used. He slipped up and used that fake passport to make some of Mike's bookings, and that's how the FBI confirmed his identity. And so there was a lot of things like that maybe somebody else's experience that I incorporated into Ryan, because it's not me, it's not Eoin O'Brien on the screen, it's Ryan Owens. It's very much the victim's story, but it's very accurate to what happened to all of us together.
Even the number plate of the car is the same one as the number plate that you've driven around in. I mean, all the documents you see in the film were the actual, like the project deck was exactly the project deck that Owen got, the Richard Suckle. The contracts you see signed, the NDA, that's all the real stuff that Owen had. Because when we didn't want to get sued by these guys, we said, well, no, this is actually what the Con Queen said to him. So everything in this film is accurate. So we could hold, so it would hold up in the court of law that, yeah, did you get called by Deborah Snyder? Yes. You thought it was Deborah Snyder.
Everything is exactly
Richard Suckle from Atlas Entertainment, he's named because that's exactly how it came into it. We didn't try to change it, because if you change it, then you're gonna get sued for whoever's name you're gonna put on the document. So we kept everything real.
So I took my reality, I incorporated other victims, I raised the stakes. My dad didn't have to borrow money. I didn't have to fight my way out of Jakarta, but Mike Swick did. And so I obviously had to make a movie narrative about it, and the higher stakes, the better. And as far as reality, I think if you watch the documentary, if you listen to the podcast, you can see that the story echoes itself. We all had a very similar experience. And the last act I had to write. The first 2 acts had already happened. Yeah. So the last act I had to imagine, how can I turn this around? How can Ryan turn this around? And then after writing it, reality followed the work.
And it becomes a film within a film anyway, so the third act is more dream killer than it is your story. But I like the fact that there was this kind of, especially that scene where we call cut, we see that it's now the movie you've made. It's basically what happened to us. We had that meeting where I was with finances saying, yeah, well, if you want us to make this film, we're gonna need a star attached. I mean, that happened to me in my pitch meeting. I was like trying to get money for this film, that I know, we need to have a star, otherwise we can't consider it. So a lot of those things kind of went into the film. So it's very kind of meta and very kind of film within a film.
Self-referential, yeah, but very accurate. We made sure it was accurate. Nothing is blown out of proportion. Everything happened to me or it happened to somebody else. And through my research, I was, really using the details. Even the other female victim, that happened to a photographer. And another friend of mine who was called Byron, he saw multiple marks on the ground at the same time. He had bumped into somebody else that was also there being scammed by the Con Queen at the same time. So.
While it's here, can I just take it? I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. It took me on the journey. I also had something similar, but not with this particular character. And you as an actor, I was feeling and living the moments to go through. I just want to ask, there was the piece on the film where there was that throwaway line about it, make a great story. And I think it was the lawyer or someone that you just had this really small, very little tiny piece with. But then I just wanted to know, at what point was it? Was it that point, or was it another? I think you showed it when you got to Ireland, where you got down with your computer. And I just wanted to clarify that moment, because that was you then getting right back on it and chasing it. And that was it then. And we followed the story from that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go back to Ireland. I stayed in Bangkok. I love Bangkok. I'm not going anywhere. So. Getting it out almost immediately onto screen, and that's one part that was me. That was, if no lawyer said to me, somebody should make a movie about it. There were just, some parts. There's a strong blend of reality and fiction in the film, but I think in a real way, in a fair way.
That's the only bit you had to act, was signing on the doll in the that was a bit of acting. And Owen doesn't have to sign on the doll. So.
Yeah, my dad wasn't sick. Yeah, my dad didn't borrow money from a loan shark. So those were the narrative, the filmic elements that had to be brought in to make it a movie.
That is your mother in the film.
Yes, but that is my mother who passed away. My mother did pass away, and it was great to get her face on the film and dedicate the film to her, and also to Yayu, my driver, who was very, very good. Indonesian actor who played in The Last of Us Part 2, who sadly has passed away since we shot the film. So the film is dedicated to both my mother and to Yayu and Ru, who made a very, very strong contribution to the film, I think.
This is the final cut.
This is a final cut. This is the theatrical cut.
If studio or distributor want to change something, it's possible to change.
Yeah, if you want to buy the movie from us and change it, no problem.
But because if I want to buy and I want you to recut like after I finish the film, I feel still angry with that guy. I want to see I want to see the scene that cut his tongue and cut his finger. That's what I wanted, because the real story is they just put in the cell is not enough for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the movie that is, it can be like a dream scene, a dream sequence, something like that.
Yeah. We did one dream where that was kind of like my trauma coming out of being abused by this guy in my sleep, but when he gets to New York or when he gets to LA, when they put him into the maximum security prisons, I'm sure he's going to have lots of moments like that with some of the gangbangers and life for criminals in there. So I hear what you're saying, and we just need a little bit more budget. We'll put that in.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
But
coming.
I like the film, but I just still angry with that guy. So.
Thank you.
If I were you,
Yeah, well, we like Tom said, we don't have distribution yet, so every bit of positive publicity we can get for the film really helps, including festival awards, festival selections, everything. So I think there's a QR code outside. If you would be so kind as to rate the film for us, we'd really appreciate that. Also, IMDb reviews really help us. IMDb numbers as high as possible help us.
If ever you have distributor friends, I'm sure, and a lot of filmmakers in the audience, but it's been really a struggle to get this film in front of the right people. We've had lots of bites, but no one actually commit to the film, and that's been our...
Sales agents that we're not sure about, sales companies that we just...
It's been frustrating for us, but we try to make the best film we could with the money we had and the time we had, and the story that Eoin had written, and this was the best we could do. But now it's for someone else to put the film out there, and then the film will have its own life once a distributor takes it on. But yeah, we're happy to shoot this extra scene. You're a big Thai director. Maybe if you shoot the scene at the end of a film by Yutla, at the end we have like a semi-cathartic
seeing like Deliverance. Sure do got a pretty mouth.
So thank you so much, Tom and Eoin.
Thank you for coming.
Adventures at the Bangkok Film